Hello, everybody. You are listening to Solved or Not, the True Crime Paranormal Podcast. Yes, true crime with a mix of paranormal, with a mix of history, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at over here. This is the very first episode, and the very first episode, we're going off with a bang here. You clicked on it. You know what this episode is about. We're just going to jump right into it. But before we jump into it, let me explain a little bit about what this podcast is going to be about. Not particularly this episode, but what this podcast is going to be about. And we're just going to have fun over here, okay? We're just going to have a lot of fun. This podcast is going to be about true crime. Everybody loves true crime. Everybody loves that feeling of trying to figure out who murdered who got killed, what body was found. And everybody's like trying to figure it out, and they're trying to like analyze it. And it's so tough. It's so hard because if the clues are right there, you can't figure it out. And you're just like, fuck, like I gotta figure this out. I have to figure this out. Like it's nagging at me. And that's what true crime is all about. Like, really. I love true crime. Everybody loves true crime. What's really scary is the one species of people that love true crime and love that documentary, like murderous documentary, are women. Women love murder documentary, Lifetime movies about murder and death, and it just makes you really paranoid. It makes you really like, okay, should I get into a relationship or should I not? Like, I don't know. It's kind of creepy. Like, you see those stories about on Netflix and everything, and it's always the girls who are binge watching these documentaries on Charles Manson or something. And it's just like, I don't know if I want to get involved with you at all. Like, that's a little creepy. So, we are kicking off episode 1 of the first season. This is like the first season, episode 1. This is going to be fantastic. It's going to be great. And we're kicking off with the most viewed, most thought of case in the country of JonBenét Ramsey. Now, I didn't know at all how to pronounce her name. I thought it was JonBenét. Clearly, I did not take French or anything of the sort in high school. But I had to learn how to pronounce her name, and it was JonBenét Ramsey, and I was like, whoops, I didn't know that. But okay. So today is like the first time that I ever read about this story. I never heard of this story. Okay. I never heard of it. I heard about it, and I'm going to get in a little bit like millennial, I guess, for a second. I'm going to get a little bit millennial. I didn't really care for this case, and I know how dark that sounds. I didn't really care for this case because it was about a little girl who was a beauty pageant queen. They called her a beauty queen. And I was like, my first thought was, why? Why are you doing this why are you doing this to a little child? Like, why are you exploiting a little child to be a beauty queen? And I was like, where are the parents involved in this? Like, what are the parents doing in this? And then I read about the case. I read about like the background of it and everything. And I read all about it. And I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I get it. It's okay. I have forgiveness for that. I was like, I had to read a little bit more about it and figure out what it was. And now I get it. I'm totally into it, I guess. But this case is like I'm so like baffled at this case. I'm so involved in this case mentally. Like, it's just like, it's fucking with my brain. Like, how is this even possible? It's just like, it's unbelievable how this happens. So I'm going to jump right into this. This is season 1, episode 1 of Solved or Not, JonBenét Ramsey. So the story goes, JonBenét Ramsey was a beauty queen. She was a pageant beauty queen, 6 years old. She was a cute little girl, not gonna lie. I'm not into kids like that whatsoever, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. But apparently the story goes that December 26, 1996. Okay, that's really creepy because I was born in June 1996. December 26, 1996. It's Boulder, Colorado. Nice family home. Like, I've seen pictures of the house. The home was immaculate. It was huge, like a really big house. Apparently the family had a lot of money. Like, they were rich with money. Well, duh. What else would you be rich with? Rich with money. And they seemed like a happy family. They seemed like really, really happy. And there was one photo that was actually taken a few hours before this incident happened, which in my research I couldn't find anywhere of where her murder actually happened, like the time frame, like what time period. But I'm assuming sometime in the middle of the night, maybe. And the night of December 26th, so this is Christmas, or like after Christmas, which is really sad, actually. So after Christmas, there was a photo that was taken where she was all smiling and she was all happy and everything. And all of a sudden, this takes place, okay? So what I found in my research here is the parents woke up to find that she was missing from her bed. Okay, that's like a red flag first. And I guess they were waking up early to go for a vacation or a trip or something, and they found a ransom note demanding $118,000. Wow, $118. $118,000 for their daughter's safe return. Now, I'm going to read about the story, and then I'm going to explain things along the way, and so you guys can like get the feel of it, and then I explain things along the way. I guess, whatever. So the note said that they weren't supposed to notify the police or anything, and if they did, their daughter's going to die. What do? They notify the police. Obviously, of course. What else are you going to do? You're going to notify the police if your daughter's missing. You're just not going to ignore that, you know? So the police arrive at 5:55 a.m., and they find no forced entry into the house. None. It's a big house. Like, if you see pictures of it, it's a really big house. No forced entry of the house whatsoever, okay? And before her body was found, apparently there were a lot of mistakes made, which we'll get to in just a second. Yeah, so the note said that they wanted $118,000 for her return. They have her and everything, and blah, blah, blah. All right, I hate to say it, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. That was actually really bad of me. So they search around the house and all this, and she had a brother, her parents, her obviously living in the house. It's a big house. Like I don't know how these people live in here. The brother was instructed to stay in bed. Maybe he was in bed while the police were searching around. That's another red flag here. I know I'm jumping around, but I'm trying to figure this out myself. Like I'm trying to like analyze this myself as I'm jumping around. And it's just so baffling how this like comes together. So after hours of searching, they look around the house. They don't find anything. Okay, nothing. All of a sudden, I guess the police are gone. I think they leave or something. After a while, the father goes down to the basement and he finds a, a crawl space, like a door crawl space or whatever, off on the side of the basement. Opens the door. Lo and behold, there's something laying on the ground, floor, ground, whatever. It's a basement. Who cares? Something laying on the floor, and it's a blanket, towel, something or rather. Move the blanket away, and there's their daughter, right there. So the police are gone, right? There's the daughter right there, and they notice a few things about their daughter. First of all, she had duct tape over her mouth. That was one. She had a nylon cord around her neck. And she also had markings on her body, like a taser markings of some sort. And there was also an unidentified footprint, like a boot print, right next to her. That belonged to nobody, apparently, quote unquote, nobody. And they noticed that the window was broken, and it was like swung open, like it was enough to fit a body through. So somebody could have broken in at any point in time. So that's it's just so confusing. I'm still trying to figure this out as we're going along with this. I'm still like trying to figure this out. Okay. So the police were gone, obviously, because her father picked her up, brought her upstairs, and that destroyed evidence for the police. It's a crime scene. You shouldn't, that's your daughter, but you shouldn't destroy crime scene like that. I get it. You want to try to help her, I guess. I don't know. I don't even know if they knew she was dead already. Oh, I forgot something else. There is also no evidence of rape of any sort, but they did find semen on her undergarments, and you would. It's just so baffling. It's just so crazy to think about this. I didn't want to do this one, but we're gonna do this anyways because I'm so confused about it, and it just confuses me how this all takes place. So when they did an autopsy on her, they found pineapple in her system, and the parents don't remember her eating pineapple, and I got really confused about that. And I was actually going to look this up before I did this. I was going to look this up because I wanted to see if she was allergic to pineapple. And it would make total sense that if she was allergic to pineapple, had an allergic reaction to the pineapple, and her parents don't recall giving her the pineapple, who's the only person that's left? It would be her brother, because her brother's fingerprints were on the pineapple bowl. And I was so confused about that. And I was like, wait a minute, if the brother gave her pineapple, knowing that she was allergic to pineapple, then it would make perfect sense. It would look like a murder, but it was actually an accident at the same time. He wasn't actually trying to murder her. He was just like, here, have some freaking pineapple. And he would have given her the pineapple and just been like, okay, I know you're allergic to pineapple, but here you go. But that doesn't explain the asphyxiation. It doesn't explain the duct tape over her mouth and whatnot. So that goes back to the point of a break-in, okay? There was the glass was broken on the window. It was open enough that you can crawl through, and she was found in a closet in the basement. Okay, so that doesn't explain that whatsoever. But I think I have a theory. If somebody broke into the house and kidnapped her or something, you would hear a scream, right? You would hear a scream. Anybody in the house, they would hear freaking screaming, obviously. So my theory is somebody did break into the house, probably, and they knew where she was. They knew what her bedroom was, because her bedroom was the only one that was cornered off, which is so weird. It's so strange. Like, how does that, like, I don't get it. So my theory is that somebody broke in and they didn't make a noise or anything. They must have been so super silent. Didn't make a noise. And they broke in, put the duct tape over her mouth, and took her down the stairs and did whatever they did to her. Like, I don't understand. I'm so confused. I'm so baffled by this. And this case is just so scary. It's like so like, I don't know. There's like there's so many theories about that the family is involved in it, and I'll get into that later on because I have my own theories. So, the brother, obviously, I feel like the brother really did have something to do with it, and I feel like the family really had something to do with it as well. Because if you have seen, there's like this interview of Dr. Phil with her brother, and he doesn't look right. He doesn't look right at all. He looks like he's more, I don't want to say happy. He just looks like he's more like satisfied. He just looks like a sociopath or psychopath in training or something like that, where he's just he's not happy with it. He's just more satisfied. And if you've seen the interview, it's kind of weird. He just sits there. You can see his hands like shaking a little bit, and he like puts his fingers in like a fist, kind of sort of. He's just sitting there, and his hands are like going up and down. It's like he's in a fist motion or something. His fingers are all over the place. That to me just looks like somebody who's like really, really guilty. If you're a body reader, you can read people, you can read their actions and like their emotions and everything. That to me is like a red flag, because his hands are shaking in a way, and his like knuckles are kind of balled up in a fist or something. And that to me just like it's just like a red flag. So obviously they ran DNA tests on the semen that was found, and none of the DNA test results came back to the family. It wasn't them. And see, that just raises another question too. Like, I get so angry about this, but I love this stuff because it makes you think. It makes you like what's going on? Like, how does this even happen? So let's move on to the obvious. She was 6 years old. That's one. She was a beauty pageant queen. That's another. I don't like to call them beauty pageant queens. She was 6 years old. It was like, let's just say beauty pageant winner, contestant. She's not a queen. Maybe she was. I don't know. But she was 6 years old, for Christ's sake. Like, I don't want to just like focus on she was a beauty queen. Like, oh my gosh. So she's 6 years old, beauty pageant winner, contestant, whatever you want to call it. And that already is just a red flag for pedophiles. There's so many opportunity for pedophiles, and that's kind of wrong to say, honestly. But even the father, and I have to praise the father for this one. If the family is involved in this, like, God have mercy on them. But if the parents are not involved with this, and I can't speak for the mom because she passed away in 2006. I can't speak ill fated of the dead, I guess. But the father did come out and say he regrets her doing the pageants. And I gotta give him credit. He's got the balls to say that. He has the balls to come out and say that I regret doing this. If I could redo it, I would not let her do that because it just opens the floodgates for pedophiles. And that is so true. These TV shows that are on whatever channel it's called, I don't know. These dance moms and these let's make her daughter a cheerleader beauty pageant person thingamajigger. It's just an opening floodgate for pedophiles. It's terrible. It's bad parenting. Not to get like into that field or whatever, but it's just bad parenting, and that's why I didn't really get into this case so much as I did now because I actually read about it. But I just didn't want to get into a case that was about this because it was just like, yeah, she's a 6-year-old beauty pageant person. Her parents did that to her, yada, yada, yada. And I just didn't want to get into that. But I got into it. And I read about it and I was like, you know what? Something doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right to me. And so I got more involved in it. And I just think it's sad. I really do. I think it's a sad freaking case. So let's look at the evidence that was given in the police report and that theories that everybody has and theories that I have created myself because I have some theories as well. So the obvious is the family is involved somehow. Now, she was 6 years old. Her brother was 9. And he had the parents first. Okay. Anybody out there who is an older child, has a younger sibling, or you're the middle child or something, you still have a younger sibling. The younger sibling usually gets the most attention. Now, I don't know if they had any other siblings. No, I think it was just her, just those two. So, he was born a boy, okay? Obviously, you can't really enter a boy into a beauty queen pageant. So, you end up having a girl afterwards. And you enter her into the beauty pageants. Now, what ends up happening is that she gets entered into the beauty pageants and she gets more attention than he does. So I think that jealousy has a really big factor in this. I really do. I think that was out of jealousy. And this goes back to her being allergic to pineapples because the pineapple was found in her system. Her parents don't recall that. How the fuck did the pineapple get into her system then? Who gave it to her? And I was just like, I was so confused about that. And so, yeah, I think jealousy really plays a very, 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 very important role in this. Because if you're jealous of a sibling who has so much, like, I don't know if she was famous, really. If she was famous afterwards. You have, like, a sibling who is doing all this, like, beauty pageant stuff, and she's, like, the center of attention, like, her picture is everywhere and all of this, and you're just the older child who is just trying to live your life and everything, but your younger sibling who has all the attention, she's taking the limelight. You know, she's taking your thunder away. And I feel like that would be a cause for trying to, like, fake all of this And there's like also speculation that it's a cover up, which would make total sense. Like uh, they're trying to save her brother after this takes place, and he did it, and it's kind of like, let's see, it's just kind of like a jealousy, like that anger, jealousy or something. I'm gonna do this, so yeah, I need a cover up. But why would her parents be involved in this? See, that just raises more questions. So the jealousy theory is still very, very an active thing. The next one is pedophile. I'm stating the obvious. She's that face of beauty. Even though she's 6 years old, there are some very, very fucked up people out there. Not gonna lie. And if she was that face of beauty and whatnot, there were people that were obsessed with her. And this has actually been released that somebody admitted that they were obsessed with her. They lived 10 blocks down from her. I'm not naming names because I don't want to name names, really. They lived like 10 blocks down from her. They knew of her, they obsessed over her, they wanted her, and they had a history of child pornography, which is really gross, by the way. I don't understand how anybody, any fucking buddy, could ever want child pornography. I don't understand. I don't get it. It's a sickness, it's a disease, it's gross. No. Just stating that obvious. And it's just really nasty. But this gentleman in particular, not going to release names, this gentleman in particular, obsessed over her. He wanted, he loved her. He wanted her. And so the story goes that on December 26, 1996, he contacted one of his really best friends who lived in California at the time. This took place in Boulder, Colorado. Contacted his best friend in California, and he was described as sobbing, and he said, "I hurt a little girl." Now that raises like a red flag, because that was the same night that she got murdered. And he says that he hurt a little girl. It was later said that he admitted to doing it. And he kind of described that he dropped her. He didn't mean to do it. And he was saddened that he did it. And it's so confusing how this just takes place. Like I said, I'm not naming names because I don't want to call anybody out. I don't want to call anybody involved out. I'm not going to talk ill of the dead either. In this entire podcast, I'm not going to call ill or say ill of the dead. But I literally I sat in my car for like an hour reading the story, looking at photos, and I was like, this is nuts. This is nuts. And this is like the first time I'm like reading about this and like learning about this. And I was so interested in this case. And I sat there and I was like, I got to think about this. I got to think about how the fuck this took place. Like, why don't we know about this? Why don't we know like how this happened? How don't we know this? You would obviously hear her screaming if somebody broke in, but if they put on the duct tape like really quick, you wouldn't hear it, obviously. You wouldn't hear her it's a big house. So if you're on one side of the room, you're on one side of the house and she's on the other side of the house, I don't know if you would hear anything, honestly. I really don't know. I'd have to see like the house itself because it's pretty big. And it's so freaking crazy. So let's think about this. I gotta think about what I'm going to say next. The obvious is pedophilia, of course. So many cases of pedophiles, and like these pedophiles have histories of child pornography. They have the histories of sexual assault with children, which is so sick. It's just nasty. That's why I didn't want to like investigate this case at all, because it involves that. But the cases that we're going to be getting into later on, as the season progresses, are going to be a lot more darker, a little bit. I'm just like at a loss for words because I'm trying to figure this out as I'm going along. Like I just read about this, and it's like this is so freaking crazy, man. Yeah. So apparently, the case was settled in 2019, which is bullshit because we're still talking about it to this day. The case is still open and remains unsolved. Now, why? Why does it remain open? Why is it unsolved? I just don't understand. Like the evidence is right there. It's kind of in black and white a little bit, sort of. So, I guess you guys have already like guessed that I'm not a forensic specialist. I'm not a homicide detective or anything. I did jump around a lot because obviously this is like episode 1. Like we're just getting started. And I don't have any notes or anything. I'm just going off of what I read. So this is off the top of my head. So it's kind of like a loose based episode. A loosisode. A loose based episode. But it's just it's so tragic. It is really tragic. And it's been 25 years. Like, that is so nuts because I'm almost 26. Yeah, it's just so strange. The reason why people have said the brother is involved in it is because not only the jealousy factor, but because I guess 2 weeks before he was known to like beat her or hit her or something like that or something. And it was evident that she had bruises. So, I don't know. It's just one big cover-up. That's all it is. It's just one giant cover-up. But for what? And I think about it, and it's like, if the brother were to have something to do with it, then they're trying to cover it up so that nobody gets in trouble. The brother doesn't look like a murderer. The family doesn't look like a murderer. They want it to look like an accident. But for what? Why not just say it was an accident? And that goes back to the pineapple thing. Pineapple. It goes back to the pineapple thing. Because I still think that she was allergic to pineapples. And the reason I say that is they found pineapple in her system. Her brother's fingerprints were on the bowl for the pineapple. And her parents don't remember her eating pineapple. Even though it was December 26th, I'm sure the whole family was together. And you can't remember giving your daughter pineapple? They wouldn't give her pineapple if she was allergic to it. But her brother was 9 years old. She was 6. And you would think that a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old would know that one of them is allergic to something. So that's kind of a red flag right there, too. Would they know that she's allergic to pineapple? And if she had an allergic reaction, they didn't want it to look like a murder, suicide, nothing. So why not just asphyxiate her, put duct tape around her mouth, all of that, just to make it look like something was that an attack took place. That's another thing. The ransom note. The ransom note's another thing. So the ransom note, it's actually really crazy how this took place. So the ransom note was written on a piece of paper that was from the notebook from her mother. That's creepy. There was also a paintbrush that was around the cord that was around her neck that was from the painting room of her mother. Why? It's it's just so crazy how that happens. It's like there was the ransom note was 2 pages long, 2 full pages long, and there was a broken paintbrush that was tied around the cord around her neck. How the hell did a kidnapper, who wasn't even a kidnapper, he wrote on the letter saying to pay the $118,000 for your daughter back? The funny thing was, their daughter was in the house the whole damn time. So it's just so weird. And how would they have the time to write this? Like, it's a full freaking 2-page ransom note explaining how to go to the bank, get the money out. And it was like $100,000 in $100 bills, $18,000 in $20 bills. You have time to write this all out? There was another theory that came out about that the person who admitted to doing this, he said, the one who called the one in California, he said that the ransom note was just a bullshit thing. Like, he just didn't want to get caught or something, so they wanted to write a ransom note, and the ransom note was used as like a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Gimmick, I guess. Charade. A little oomph. Just to be like, yeah, I'm just going to write a ransom note, and we're just going to go through this and just, yeah. First of all, what I want to know is, like, how the family didn't know about this. You would hear it, wouldn't you? Like, the house is big enough where I'm sure everything echoes, sort of. And you would hear it. You would hear your daughter screaming. You would hear sounds coming from your house. Like, if somebody were to break a window or something, you would definitely hear it. And I guess there was like another theory that there was more than one person involved. You would hear that. You would hear more than one people involved. Obviously. Unless you're a really goddamn heavy sleeper. Or depending on whatever time this happened. Because they found her at... Oh, God. They found her at what? I think it was like 4 in the morning? 5 in the morning? Because the police arrived there at 5:55. Like, it's a really big house. Like, let's see here. Yeah, they found her at like 5:50, or no. The police arrived at 5:55. They must have found her like an hour earlier or something. And I don't remember if they moved her before the police arrived or after the police arrived. either way, you're tampering with evidence. That's a big no. You're not supposed to do that. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just like completely baffled by that. I didn't even write any notes down, like I said. I'm just going off the top of my head over here what I read. Like I've seen pictures of it and everything, and it's like, ooh, I can't even look at that. I could never be like a homicide detective because I've seen pictures and it's like, no, I like to sleep at night. I'm not about to go do that as a career. Yeah, no. So I found something here. It is a report on evidence that a likely intruder broke in. There's like little bullets over here. The denverchannel.com. Denver Channel. This is Denver Channel. Sorry. So there's like bullets over here. This is like evidence that they found or something. One of them is faint markings on a suitcase under a broken basement window, and on the wall under the window might be footprints. What is footprints? Footprints. They theorized that an intruder might have put his foot against the wall to steady himself while crawling through the window. So they found like a boot print like right next to her. I'm saying boot. See, that's where it comes from. I said, instead of saying boot print, I said footprint. I guess I read that as a B or something. My bad. So they found a boot print right next to her that didn't belong to any of the family members. So that right there is kind of like an area where it's like maybe somebody broke in. Maybe one of them actually did have those and they just planted it there, or it could have been a worker or something. Like maybe they had like not a gardener. They had some kind of maintenance guy or something like that in their basement previously. And they're just like, oh, wow, I forgot that Jimmy was here. Geez, maybe we should not rule that out as evidence. That's right, we had him here last week. I'm just kidding. Peanut-shaped foam packing material and leaves found in the basement might have been tracked inside by someone entering through a broken basement window. Okay. I'm reading this for the first time, so. Peanut-shaped foam packing material. Why the fuck would you need that? And leaves found in the basement might have been tracked inside. So, leaves found in the basement. Okay, it's Denver, and it's December. I don't really think that leaves are going to be on the ground. Well, they were, but it would be like heavily snow-packed. If anything, you should see for wet spots, because there's like it'd be snowing outside. Fibers on a metal baseball bat found outside the Ramsey's home matched a carpet found in the basement near the storage room where JonBenét's body was found. Fibers on a metal baseball bat. Huh? Oh, okay. They're talking about carpet fibers. Why don't you just fucking say that? Fibers on a metal baseball bat found outside the Ramsey's home matched the carpet found inside the basement near the storage room. Her brother was known to have a baseball bat. And he was even asked if he hit her with a baseball bat. Ooh. Did I just solve something? DNA evidence from JonBenét's fingernails and underpants indicated her attacker was a male. But the only males in the house were her brother and her father. And they're supposed to be innocent ones, aren't they? So that means that they weren't. The semen DNA results did not trace back to them, so they can be ruled out, I guess. Marks on her face and back could have been made by a stun gun. Arapahoe, am I saying that right? Arapahoe County Coroner Michael Doberson said that after examining Smith's photos of the wounds, he agreed that a stun gun might have been used to subdue the girl. noted there is evidence contradicting the use of a stun gun. Wouldn't you hear a stun gun? I feel like you would. I feel like you would hear the bzzz of the stun gun, you know? And like neighbors would see the flashing of the stun gun or something. Why would you use a stun gun on a little kid? Like, it's like, oh, you're making a ruckus. Bzzz, just use a stun gun on you. Like, seriously? Oh, man. She also had bruises and abrasions on her shoulders, legs, and feet, according to the AP. What's the AP again? Oh, that's the coroner thing, I guess. Bruises, abrasions on her shoulders, legs, and feet. Yeah, see, it's just like really, really crazy. Ooh, that's my throat. Yeah, it's just like I'm reading. Like I said, I'm reading this for the first time. I'm not even kidding. God, my throat's making noise. I still rule it out as it could have been just a pedophile. It could have been somebody who was obsessed with her, who just wanted her, I guess, which is really gross, by the way. I'm not going to lie. And I don't know. But it could also be the brother as well, because I go back to that Dr. Phil interview, and it's just so crazy. You can read people. Like, if you look at the Chris Watts case, we're not going to do this on this podcast, but if you look at the Chris Watts case, you can see body language. You can see that just the way his body looks and the way that he reacts to videos and all of that. Her brother had the same reactions. And he just didn't look like he cared. He didn't look like he gave a shit, because he just looked like, oh yeah, look at me. I'm on Dr. Phil. my sister's dead. That's what he looked like. He looked like he smoked a lot of weed, and he was just cheesing the fuck out on Dr. Phil and talking about his sister dying. Like, there have been people who were talking about other individual, like, family members dying, and they still can't talk about it, and they break down and get emotional, and this kid just, it's all right. Yeah, I saw police going through my house. Yeah, I was told to stay in bed. Now, was he told to stay in bed, or was he forcefully instructed to stay in bed? That's the big question. There's two different sides to that. If you're told to stay in bed, just be like, the police are going to come through. We don't know what's going on. Just stay in bed. Don't get out. It's going to be okay. That's more innocent. But if you were to tell your kid, like, you do anything to cause alarm, if the police see that you're acting strangely, you just need to stay in bed. Just stay in bed. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's like two different sides to this. Like, was he told to stay in bed, or was he told to stay in bed? Like, see, that's like really confusing. Let's see. Yeah, the person who came out and said that to the friend from California, he had like so much child pornography on his phone, and he was actually arrested afterwards. They found a photo of JonBenét in his possession, and he came out and he said that he was obsessed with her. Like, he lived 10 blocks down from her. She was at this Christmas parade and everything, and he said it was just the way that she looked and all this. And I'm not going to describe that or anything because it's like really gross. I already feel gross describing it. But he came out and he said it and he admitted it. So I don't understand how they just don't put the two and two together and like, hey, maybe this guy did it. He came out and said it. I don't understand what the problem is. Maybe we should go have a little talk with him. If you're going to say that you came out and hurt a little girl, and the next day the news article comes out that a 6-year-old girl from the Boulder area is missing, dead, whatever the case may be, and somebody has information on hurting a little girl, has a photo of her in their possession, odds are maybe he did it. Like, you can cross off the family. And by the way, the ransom note asked for $118,000. That was how much the bonus the father got for Christmas. How would they actually know that? Were they in cahoots? Did they know each other? Did he know the father, know what he did for line of work? Did he know of him, what his business is, how much he makes, tax returns, all of this? And it's just so crazy. And it's bizarre. It is a bizarre case. And I wanted this case to be episode number 1 because it is so bizarre. I was originally going to do a different case that I just learned about today, but I decided to give this case a chance. And the more I read about it, the more I was like, well, what the fuck? This doesn't make any sense. But if it is as innocent as a pedophilic case, did I say that right? Pedophiliac. Yeah. If it is as innocent as that, and that's just where the line ends, then this case is over. It's solved. Because the guy who came out and said that he hurt a little girl, he has pictures of her, he lives 10 blocks down from her, he's very familiar with the neighborhood, he's very familiar with her, he's very familiar with them. The case is solved. If it is just as innocent as that. But if the family has something to do with it, then how are we to know? And that's just what's confusing to me. I wish it. Okay, this is gonna sound really dark. I wish it was just as innocent as somebody broke into the house, somebody knew who she was, somebody knew where she was. I wish it was just as innocent as that. Because then we would know. We would know who done it. Did it. Whatever. We would know who did it. Because that is done. We know who did it. The father even said, and I said this in the beginning of the episode, the father even said that when you put your daughter through this, like beauty pageants and all of this, you're basically exploiting her. You put your daughter through this, you are opening the gates to pedophilia. You really are. And this is calling out people, and I know I'm going to turn off some people to this But this is calling out people to those who do this to their 6-year-old daughters, who do this to their daughters of any age, really, even up to 18 years old. You're doing this to your daughter, and you're putting her through these beauty pageants and everything. And I know you want her to feel that femininity, or I don't know my words. Femininity. You want her to feel like a girl, obviously. But at the same time, this is a story about a little girl who's 6 years old, who is thrust into this world of beauty pageants just because her mother was a beauty pageant queen. The father didn't want anything to do with it. I don't think the brother wanted anything to do with it. Obviously, you're not going to throw your brother or your son into a beauty pageant contest. And this is just a story about how this little 6-year-old was thrown into the beauty pageant world, and probably the end result was a pedophile who wanted to get to her. And to think about that is just, it's crazy. It's insane. It's like, ugh. That's why I can't watch these shows. I can't watch, like, Dance Moms, because it is literally a show about mothers who are trapped in their daughters' lives and they can't get out, and they just want to live their life through their daughters and force them to do, like, dancing, and the daughters become bitches because their mothers are bitches. And this is just what that story is all about. Like, whether you want to accept that or not. And it's a pretty sad story if you really think about it. And if you really dive deeper into it, it's a very, very sad story. And this could have been very avoided. And the father even said if he had a second chance to do this, he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't allow it. And I respect that. I really do. Yeah, it's just a really creepy. No, it's not really creepy. It's really like it could have been avoided. It really could have been avoided. Yeah. I'm just reading about this and like trying to figure it out. I feel like one day we'll know about it. Her mother actually passed away in 2006, and I hope that her mother reunited with her. I hope they're reunited. I really do. But we can only base off of what we know. We know that she was found in the basement. We know that the ransom note was shit because nobody had her. She was in the house the whole time. We know that the family or the semen was not traced back to the family. We know that a pedophile loved her, obsessed over her, adored her. And that's all we know. And to this day, it's 2022. To this day, this case of JonBenét Ramsey remains unsolved. Thank you guys so much for listening to Solved or Not. And I dubbed this case Not Solved because we still have so many questions. Thank you guys for listening. This has been a really, really interesting case. I'm really glad I dissected it. I broke it down. There's so much to think about. I will probably be revisiting this case as I read about it, as I progress about it, and as I think about it. This case will be revisited. Don't you worry. Thank you guys for listening so much. You listened to Solved or Not. This is a true crime paranormal podcast. And what I mean by paranormal podcast is like it's not always going to be true crime, but it'll be true crime and paranormal, because if somebody got murdered, there's always a paranormal side to that. But that's going to be for another episode. Thank you so much for listening, and you have yourselves a great fucking